All right, we are live. Welcome everyone this evening. We got some people in the house. Renegade Patriot Randy, my brother, holding it down in blue. Keep it nice and tight tonight. D Love, welcome. Stasia Hart, welcome. Patty Meckley, free, welcome. Miss Jan is in the house. Miss Queen Talks Crime is in the house in blue, holding it down tonight. Thank you, love. T. Sophia, welcome. Angel P is in the house. Welcome, Angel. Mr. Boss Blake is in the house. My brother. K123 is in the house. Much love to you. Yes, the Robinson family definitely needs prayers and love. These walls have eyes. Welcome. Good evening to you. Okie 420 Mama is in the house. Welcome. Welcome. Keita is in the house. Welcome, Keita. Kathy Haggerty is in the house. How are you? Thank you all for joining us tonight for Cue the Truth Live. All of you know, for those that have been with us on Wednesday, know that Miss Q Carlock and myself, we had a sensational double back-to-back live with Mr. David Robinson, the father of missing 24-year-old Daniel Robinson, who's missing out of Buckeye, Arizona, since June 23rd. And he's been missing without a trace of where he is today. The family is in search mode, and they are looking for answers. And we have, both of us, Miss Q and I, have stepped up to the plate, and we're taking a very hard look at not only the evidence and the facts in the case, but we're also looking to assist the family directly with the efforts that we know how best to put together and make happen. So those of you who are just joining us, welcome. Teresa Upchurch is in the house. Yes, FKN Truth is in the house. Welcome. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at the most recent family press conference that the Robinson family has had in the month of November. From our two previous lives with Mr. Robinson, we know that he was out there along with his search team, out there 16 times. That means 16 independent searches were done in order to locate and find Daniel, his son. And they are convening once again tomorrow for another search in certain areas and sectors of the grid map that we had discussed in our two previous lives with Mr. Robinson. We'll be taking a very quick look at that map, maybe get an idea as to where they may focus their attention on, where they may start, how long will they be out there. And I've been in direct contact with Mr. Robinson and also another party, but I'll get to that later. First, tonight, we want to cue in on the November family press conference. I don't know if any of you have seen this. This is a very, very important press conference because it tells a lot already as to what they've been able to achieve, what they've been able to find, and how the Buckeye Police Department has in a way, try to assist them in their search efforts. Mr. Robinson is also looking into the matters of having the FBI do a case review of the Buckeye Police Department in reference to their, let's just say, their police activity regarding assisting a family in need for their missing son, Daniel Robinson. So tonight we're going to take a deep dive into the facts of the case. I want you to listen carefully to this press conference because Mr. Robinson and his team are going to tell you exactly, up to date, where they are and what direction they're going into. So without further ado, let us begin the press conference.
Show. Am I in frame? Yeah. Okay. Hi, good morning. I'm Evan Short. That's EVANSHORT. I'm the I assist the 3 Laws Recon and the family of the Robinson family for conducting searches. I want to thank you all for coming out. This is the 16th public search that we've had. We've had the extended family of volunteers coming out, and we just wanted to thank you all for coming out here. Mr. Robinson does have some words that he'd like to share and express with everybody today. Mr. Robinson?
All right, thank you, Evan. All right, before I get started, first I want to thank God, who's the author and finisher of my faith. I want to thank him for blessing me to even be here for my son, providing my life in a certain area where I can be here for him. I also want to thank the volunteers that come out here every weekend, volunteering their time. And, without these special people behind me, I wouldn't have a search. They like I said, they were out here working tirelessly, spending their weekends with me out here in the desert, looking for a stranger, somebody they don't know, somebody they do know, someone they can relate to. They are the people that have empathy for others. They came out here to search for my son, and I'm really happy and proud of them. And I really thank you guys for doing that for me and my family. My daughter here also. These people here that come out here every weekend, they are mothers, they are fathers, they are sisters, they are brothers. They're just like me and my family. They saw a calling and they saw a need from another family, and they showed up. So I'm grateful for them. And, these people came out here to show all their love to me and my family. They're the ones that showed me and my family that there's a lot of people out there that's capable of love. The volunteers for the search for Daniel, I love and I appreciate each and every one of them as my own family. They are my extended family. I tell them that every time we come out here, we're just not searchers, we are a family. The staff that's here, Mr. McGrath, Jim here next to me, Evan, we all family here. And I'm really proud of what's been happening out here every Saturday. Also, I want to thank my logistics coordinator, Evan Short, and his wife. From day one after joining, my search efforts, they had done everything with passion. They never missed a single search. They never asked for anything. They just show they love and help me out every way they can. Say everything we needed here, they're here for us. Also, I wanted to thank my private investigator, Jeff McGrath, and his staff, Jim, who helped me and my family find the truth of what happened to my son's what helped me finding the truth of what happened to my son, Daniel Robinson. I'm grateful for his expertise in the accident reconstruction that allowed us to to finally get some information towards what happened to this vehicle, my son's vehicle, the day he went missing. He cares. His care and knowledge uncovered everything that we needed to know about how my son's vehicle ended up over that hill over here behind us into that ravine. His findings are valuable and answer some of the questions that my family and myself have. Mr. McGrath is not only just the accident reconstructionist, he's also my friend. Thank you. Mr. McGrath is the only accident reconstructionist in my son's case who thought enough, that it was worthwhile looking, physically touching my son's vehicle, physically looking at it and looking at the data, using all this expertise and knowledge that you have to find the truth. And I thank you.
You're so welcome.
Also to my attorney, Jay Calhoun, I thank you. She don't like to be on camera, but I thank her anyway. I thank you for your professionalism and your counsel. Anytime I'm feeling down, you're there. They'll give me encouraging words, and I really appreciate that. You looked out for my best interest so far, and I'm really grateful that you came along. So thank God for you. And all the long hours that you put in just to help my family, to get all the, keep us from legal harm. So I really thank you. You're like a big sister or something. So, and I want to thank all the people who helped in the searches, who donated, the ones that couldn't make it here, donated their money, signed a petition, make phone calls. I have one in particular, Penny, she's behind me, who often call and check in on me almost daily. So I'm really grateful for her. I know she's back here behind me.
Here, buddy.
Oh, there she go. Okay, all right. I'm really thankful for her for doing that. And all the many people that's back here, I'm sure I've received so many phone calls and text messages, and they come out and they ask questions, show so much interest into my son's case. It's just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming with love, and I'm really grateful for each and every person. And also to my family, who is the backbone of this whole thing. I wouldn't be out here and I wouldn't be doing this thing without them. They gave me the strength. They're behind the scenes. A lot of times people don't get to see them or hear them. They don't get to hear Daniel's mother, but they're there constantly trying to find answers to what happened to Daniel. Daniel's mother's at home with her husband. She has a lot of pain and suffering that she had to go through. She's not a person also that don't want to be in front of the camera a lot. She's a quiet person, like to keep things quiet, but she's still there. And I want everybody to know that. Daniel has a mother that loves him, and that's at home suffering. He has a siblings, one here with me today, that also think about their little brother. My job is to continue to put the pressure on the law enforcement, in this case, to find the answers that we need. And, as a father, I came here from Columbia, South Carolina to do so, to find answers and do whatever I have to do to find my son, and also seek all the help that I can get. If I can't get it from law enforcement, I had to do it myself, but that don't stop me from trying to get law enforcement to do the right thing. I also want to thank the media for coming out, because without the media, I would not be able to spread my son's, what's happened to my son and the whole entire case here. It's been a hard, long road just to get the media's attention, but now that I have it, I'm grateful. Get my son's story out there, let people know what's happening. And that way, if, Daniel's out there somewhere, somebody have seen anything, heard anything, somebody will say something. So I'm grateful for that. Well, my son, Daniel, he started his life as an adult here in Arizona. He moved away from the cradle of his parents and his siblings in Columbia, South Carolina. He graduated from the College of Charleston to move out here here to Phoenix with his degree in geology. He started working at a company called Matrix New World. Some call it Matrix Southwest Groundwater. He worked that job diligently. He loved his job because it provided him to be able to expand his career in geology. In the terrain, he loved it out here. He get to collect the rocks that he loved the most. And Daniel, when he first came out here, I seen him grow. He started off with what we like to call a hoopty, a little car that he had to fix and repair every day. But he got that car and he was proud of it because it gave him a chance to get to work on time, be a responsible adult, and saying and he loved his job, like I said. So he was blessed that later on that he was able to buy his first vehicle, a brand new vehicle, his Jeep Renegade. He was very proud of that vehicle. Daniel, when he got the vehicle, of course, he wanted to show it to his parents. He sent me the picture of the vehicle, and we had plans to come out to here to Arizona in July to see the vehicle. But Daniel, so give me a second. Okay, with Daniel and I and his siblings, we had plans to get together in July, and I would have seen this vehicle for the first time. And I would have seen this vehicle for the first time, but instead, I ended up seeing this vehicle in July in the condition that it was after it was taken from the scene right behind us here. Anyway, excuse me.
Take your time.
The first time I saw that vehicle was through a picture that Detective Biffin showed me from the police station. And it was different from the picture that my son sent to me when he's showing it to me for the first time. My son's very proud of that vehicle. It's something that he accomplished in life as a tangible something to show his adulthood, his responsibility for himself, taking care of himself, living alone, starting off in life as a young man with a great career, high dreams, and the whole 9 yards. So it's very difficult seeing that vehicle for the first time through a picture. But Daniel, excuse me for a second. Daniel, on the morning of June the 23rd, was given an assignment to visit 2 well sites. After going to the first well site, he called his representative from the drilling company, Weber, who was waiting on him out here on Sun Valley Parkway. After meeting with the representative on Sun Valley Parkway, Daniel followed the representative back out here in this desert to the well site. Once he got to the well site, the two of them had a conversation about the weather, according to the representative. After a few minutes later, Daniel waved and drove off out there in the desert to never be seen again. On July 19, 2021, a rancher who is a 4th generation cattle rancher ran into my son's vehicle, the Jeep Renegade, right across this hill, right here behind us here. According to the rancher, the Jeep Renegade was not there a couple of days prior to July 19th, 2021, because he had been through that area a couple of days before. Since he knows this land, because this is his land, he has been raised, and he's been raised in this land he's been raised in this land and knows this land very well. Like I say, he's a 4th generation cattle rancher. He's an expert on this land. The rancher told me personally that not only was the Jeep not there 2 days prior to July the 19th, but if it had been, his cattle would have been all over it. They would have been licking the vehicle, trying to get salt off of it. They would have been trying to get the case of water that was left in my son's vehicle in the back of that Jeep. They would have been messing around with the clothing that was on the ground outside of the vehicle. There would have been droppings all around that area because the cow would have hanged around there for a long time, because they often come through that ravine. Despite of this account from this witness who found my son's vehicle and put the timeline of when the vehicle got there, is not reported in the police report. His statement is not in the police report. In fact, the rancher account matches the findings of my investigator, Jeff McGrath, analysis. My investigator believes that his vehicle was crashed somewhere else and before making its way behind me here. The rancher's account backs up the Jeep was not there at least 2 days prior to July 19, 2021. Unless that vehicle was driven around the desert for almost 30 days without a gas fill up before making its way into that ravine, I can't see personally how it crashed in that ravine on July the 19th, or 2 days prior, or July the 23rd when he went missing. That they do not match the data shown on the first crash, when the first crash happened 4 hours after my son went missing. We all know that there was a red transfer paint on my son's vehicle, on the driver's side. There was nothing red out here in the desert. If you guys look around right now, there's nothing red out here. The windshield had two impressions, as if something was trying to enter the vehicle from going inward. The damage on that vehicle does not match what happened in that ravine. Also, after the police collected my son's belongings and put them into evidence bags marked for safekeeping, a sock belonging to my son was found near the well site where he went missing weeks later. Law enforcement built a case around the disappearance of my son to include the opinions of coworkers that said he was acting odd. Coworkers who are not licensed into mental health, and they're not mental health experts, but not doctors. Yet their account made it into the report. There's a second person and the last person that saw my son on June 23rd, 2021. And I will let my investigator speak on that a lot more. It's okay. It's okay. He saw my son and his Jeep that morning, sometime that day. He's a federal employee. Law enforcement. My son held a conversation with him. He didn't seem to be, well, the federal worker in law enforcement told me personally that according to him, my son held a conversation with him. He didn't seem distressed. He was very polite. He helped him determine the best place to go out and target practice. Like you hear in the background now, they often do that here. My son mentioned that he was at work in this area, and shooting in this area would not be good. According to this federal employee, law enforcement, Daniel didn't act odd or seem to have any sign of mental impairment. According to this federal worker, my son's Jeep was not damaged in any way. It appeared to be brand new. This federal employee stated that statement was not included in the record of law enforcement. According to this federal employee, law enforcement had never contacted him. His account potentially changes what we believe was the timeline to what happened on June the 23rd, 2021. This week, I sent Chief Hall a letter to Chief Hall, Chief of Buckeye Police Department. This letter was sent to him from a father who has been out here every week for 16 weeks searching and trying to find answers to what happened to my son. I am that father. I formally requested that the Buckeye Police Department call in the FBI to aid and do an investigation to the suspicious circumstances surrounding my son's case. After a failed attempt to get the law enforcement to search for my son over 12 hours after I put in the missing person report, I packed my car and I headed to Arizona to search for Daniel myself. Since then, I started a weekly search that to date didn't find Daniel, but uncovered some truths about the area where my son went missing. We have found the remains of humans out here. That proves something. That proves something. Crimes has happened out here. My son went missing out in the area where obvious crimes has happened. My son went missing in suspicious circumstances. Even Chief Hall agreed to that in the interview with CNN. Where's the investigation in these suspicious circumstances? Where's the investigation to why there are human remains being found out here in this area? Where did my son go to? What happened to him? What kind of suspicious activity and circumstances do law enforcement need before they investigate? I think that we have enough suspicious circumstances surrounding this case. In my letter, to Chief Hall, I pointed out that everything that my investigator turned over to them, the people that we sent to them, that wanted to give their account, and the facts and the facts and circumstances surrounding my son's disappearance, the same suspicions that he himself on CNN said he saw. I received a response from the letter from my letter to Chief Hall on yesterday at 1:09 p.m. After brief words in his response, the last paragraph informed me that he personally contacted the FBI requesting review of my son's case. He hopes that fresh eyes on my son's case would bring light. He hopes that fresh eyes on my son's case will bring to light more details. He has a case briefing being scheduled for next week. After almost 5 months into my son's disappearance, my family and I are finally heading towards getting justice for Daniel. It took hard work. It took sleepless nights. It took searching for months, and it took the love that I have for my son to get the needle moving. No family should have to go through hurdles to find answers No family should have to go through hurdles to find answers or get closure to the pain of not knowing what happened to their loved ones. Every case involving a missing person should be treated with the same urgency as the next. There is no sorrow less felt by any family over the other when their loved one is missing. It is all the same. Sorrow, pain, and grief has no color. It is felt by all who are going through life, never receiving the answers to what happened to the one that was a part of their life. Often, people of color have to go through hurdles, do not receive the urgency that it takes to find their loved ones. As a result, they often go unheard, even when putting their trust in the very ones that are out here to serve and protect them. I have a petition with more than 95,000 signatures of people seeking justice for my son, Daniel, and all the victims and families whose voice is muffled by apathy. They signed for the unheard and the unknown. People signed a petition to see change on how the law is enforcement approaches missing persons reports. They want to see every case of missing persons treated with urgency and care, the same vigor and sweat every time. They need overwhelming support by outside agencies working together to find their loved ones. I pray that no family has to endure do what my family has to take just to be heard and to have our missing person taken seriously. But unfortunately, if a department lacks the resources and training, they need to provide extra attention to the missing person. They must ask for help from outside sources. I am not going to stop searching for my son until he's found. After what I and my family had to go through for these months, I can't sit back and hope that they are going to give the same energy to find my son as I did for months now. To continue my searches, I am starting a new phase of searching. I have a city search where I need volunteers who are willing to go out to the homeless population, shelters, mental health facilities, hospitals, etc., to pass out flyers. And I want to let everybody know that's sitting behind me. Since, like I told you earlier, since it's going to be Thanksgiving next week, I will be counseling searches next week. This will give my volunteers time, and they need to spend with their families. And I really appreciate them for doing this every week. I will continue my desert searches on Saturdays at 6:45 a.m., having my safety briefing. 7 o'clock to 11 for the searches. And then the city searches will begin on Saturdays also from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. All the information about that will be on pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Now I want to turn this over to my investigator, Jeff McGrath.
Thank you, David. I'm Jeff McGrath. I'm the Chief Investigative Officer and owner of Three Laws Recon Investigations. And when David contacted me about this case back in July, after the vehicle was recovered, I got involved in, from the picture that was shown to me that David had, the one and only picture that was provided to David by the Buckeye Police Department. There was obvious signs in that picture, obvious signs that a first week accident reconstructionist right out of training could spot. So I took on the case, and yes, I did uncover a lot of information in that vehicle that poses that there's a lot of suspicious circumstances surrounding this. The damage, the crash data recorder, the airbag control module, what we call the black box information that was provided, none of that matched the ravine the vehicle was found in. I've spent a lot of time and work looking at that vehicle, processing that vehicle. I've found the red paint transfer, other information in that vehicle, and I have turned all of my information over to the Buckeye police detectives because I wanted them to step up their investigation. Unfortunately, when I went to go out and process the vehicle the first time when it was still in Buckeye's possession, they turned it over to us through Mr. Robinson and said, their exact words said, "We don't have an investigation. We're done. We don't have a crime and we don't have anything to investigate." So they've turned everything over to us. I currently have all of that, what should have been marked evidence and should still be in their evidence lockers for review. But as we go through all of it, we just keep finding more and more. And I sat down with the Buckeye Police Department and detectives, lieutenants and assistant chief, and explained to them my findings. And all they want to do is brush me off. They don't want my information. And we've been trying to put pressure on them from day one. And this is unacceptable. If this were my child, their child, anybody else's child, I believe especially if it was their child, I believe they'd step up their investigation. But for this, they look at this as a young black man that they believe just wanted to disappear and join a monastery. Absurd. It's absolutely absurd what they believe. But we have been putting pressure on them week after week after week. We finally got Chief Hall to admit to CNN on record that there are suspicious circumstances surrounding this. They say now that they're investigating this, that they do have an ongoing investigation, and they still haven't asked me to see the vehicle. It seems that their concern was to get an expert 3 months after the fact that does the same work I do to come out, not to help, but to rebut my information. And that's frustrating to me. This is not a civil case where we have experts battling against each other on whose vehicle did what. This is a cut and dry case where there's a vehicle found in a ravine, the damage doesn't match the profile, and they want to go out and find experts at Jeep to say that the information they found is not an anomaly. It actually is very disturbing to me that they want to just keep pushing it back and defy anything that we come up with. When I found the sock 3 miles away from here, that was Daniel's. The detective Sergeant Hanneman, said, "How do you know it's Daniel's? You can't prove that." Well, I know it's Daniel's, and if anybody saw the sock, and I'm willing to show anybody the sock compared to the socks they recovered and the socks that I took photographs in Daniel's bedroom, and you will say, yeah, that was Daniel's sock. Absolutely. We don't find a lot of socks out here in the desert. It's not common. But yeah, we did find one 3 miles away. That to them was not any concern. We keep finding human remains while we're out here. 2 weeks ago, was it 3 weeks ago, we discovered human leg bones, full femurs, both of them, and a pelvis, and some spinal cord, some vertebrae. And so, of course, we finally get Buckeye to come out and tape off. This is the first time I've actually seen them use crime scene tape in this instance, where they came out and they taped it off and they collected it. And we were told almost immediately it was not Daniel's, but it's somebody's. It's somebody's. So the Buckeye Police Department released their report on their investigation, and they want to, and they did put a lot of information in there that supports their side, but they have left out information like the cattle rancher, Brandon, that found the vehicle. His information was completely it was just completely overlooked. It wasn't put in there. That's a major part to investigation. You have somebody who finds your main point of evidence, and they have information and they're familiar with the land. That would be key to my investigation. And it is key to my investigation. I've spoken with Brandon numerous times. He's a very straightforward man. He's a straight shooter. He's not gonna jerk us around. He just basically told us flat out, I know that vehicle was not there 2 days prior. I'm 100% certain. I go with this information. I also go with science and fact. And when I do all my fact checking and look for my information out here, I can't find something that gives me concrete evidence that vehicle was not there 2 days before, but I do got to go with some pretty strong words like that. And when you see the vehicle, when they recovered it, it was not in the condition of something that's been out there for a month. During the monsoon time out here, it would have been a lot more dirty. There's a lot of information. Another thing is if you're out here in the desert and you got 2 cases of water bottles with you that are untouched in the vehicle and the person's gone, that kind of leads to believe that, somebody didn't just have an accident and try to wander off and find help, because they would have taken some water with them. I would assume. It's June out here in the desert. It's pretty hot. But there's a lot of information with this that just doesn't make sense. We're going to keep going. Hopefully now with the chief calling the FBI in, that will do something, because there's something going on here, and we can't put our finger on it. We haven't answered every question. We've answered some. We still have the main question is, where's Daniel? And that's what we're going to find. We're not going to give up until we do. When I say we, I talk about my company and all my teammates and members, like Jim over here to my right, is also a well-seasoned investigator and a retired homicide investigator. Detective. He worked in my department with me. He's one of the best investigators I know. We're putting more eyes on this, more brains on this. We're doing everything we can. We're teaming up, and we're going to find something. We have, through this part, become family with Mr. Robinson and his family, immediate family, because I don't carry cases personal. I don't get passionate. I get passionate, but I don't get emotional over my cases. And I carry a lot of cases. I deal with a lot of death. I deal with a lot of families that are broken because of the work I do. But this one hurts me, and it hurts me because I'm a father. It hurts me because I see how broken this has gotten David. We're going to hang on his side. We're on his right and left side right now, and we're going to stay that way. Even when we're not with him, we're on his side. So we're going to keep going forward, and hopefully we get some answers. And when we can sit down with the FBI, we believe that's going to progress this case much quicker. We're going to accelerate from there. So let's hope they sit down with us, and we can just bypass Buckeye at this point, because there needs to be something done about this. And it's not just Buckeye. I have since this obtained 2 new cases, and they are both people of color, where the law enforcement agencies, and it's not Buckeye, it's other agencies, have just stopped and said, we're done. We don't have anything else. I can't imagine just stopping. I got a poor 18-year-old girl that's missing. Family's been looking for her since 2019. And the police department says, we've done all we can do. It blows my mind. Something has to change with law enforcement. And I am retired law enforcement, and I've dealt with missing persons in law enforcement. So has Jim over here. And we know we put in the resources we can, but there has to be some type of change in law enforcement. And it's not just people of color too. It's anybody that goes missing. Gabby Petito got attention immediately and got the FBI on immediately. We didn't. We took us weeks and months to get any media coverage on this, and we've been out here doing this without media, and we're going to keep doing it if the media is here or not. But something has to change within law enforcement, and I'm speaking for all law enforcement, saying you got to do something. You need to get the resources. If you don't have the resources, it's okay to say I don't have the resources. Reach out above you. There's county, there's state, there's federal. You can always ask for help. You shouldn't dig your heels in and say I've got this, and nobody else is gonna figure this out but me. That's the problem we're dealing with. So let's hope we get some change in law enforcement, whatever it takes. If we got to write our senators in Congress and say we need to do something, because the phone calls I'm getting since this they're blowing me away. I didn't realize it was as bad as it is. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jim Archer over here with Intuitive Research Group. He and I work together, and like I said, he is primarily homicide, but he does work with me, and very smart and great investigator.
Thank you very much. My name is Jim Archer, spelled Archer. I own Intuitive Research Group, and although I own my own company and Jeff owns his own company, we are partners in our investigative teams and endeavors. So he and I are working this case together, and I'm grateful for David for including me in on this. So I've been aware of this case since August, but I've been really dedicated to it since late September. And I am a retired investigator, and I have worked homicides and missing persons cases. And this case is unique among other cases because of the circumstances that were eloquently described here today. And because of that, it should have been handled as an endangered missing person from the beginning, and even looked at as if it were a homicide to be properly investigated. And what I've seen so far was kind of concerning, to say the least, on how it was handled. Certainly, if I were investigating a case like this, it would have been, well, to say the least, interesting. And it would have been handled by our department a little bit differently. We would have moved forward with it as an endangered missing person, I guess you could say. And we would have at least worked it until we had the right kind of closure. And that's what Jeff and I are working towards, and in the interest of David here, is to get the right kind of closure, to get the answers that he deserves and move forward so that he can move on with his life and his family can be at peace. So that's what we're striving for. That's what Jeff and I are working for. And again, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Okay. Again, thank you all for coming out and supporting this press conference. I want again, lastly say thank you to the volunteers. I just love you guys. You just don't know. And all the ones that's out there right now that wasn't able to make it to press conference that's out there currently doing foot searches. So I'm grateful for them too. So I want to tell you, my family, we really appreciate you. Love you from the bottom of my heart. And I really am grateful for each and every one of you. You're like family to me. And I just want y'all to know that. Thank God for you. All right.
Amen.
That concludes my press.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. That was the November family press conference with the Robinsons. 16 independent searches, and tomorrow they will be back out there for a 17th independent search. The very rough terrain that we had shown you in our last two lives. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's special Cue the Truth live regarding the Daniel Robinson case. Missing since June 23rd, 2021. No one has seen him since. In discussing this case with you, I want to let you all know that Ms. Q Carlock and myself have taken an active participation to support the Robinson family. And in so doing that, we are pursuing avenues and areas of assisting the family in many different ways. I want to thank Ms. Jan. Thank you so much for the PayPal contribution to support the channel. That helps a lot in the time spent to cover this particular case. Unlike the Summer Wells case, this is far different. We did a masterful job in covering that case, the Summer Wells case, by doing the Reward Fund Marathon in the month of October. Once that marathon was completed, I dedicated myself to the Daniel Robinson case. I want to thank everyone for their major contributions to the marathon. Much love goes out to you and your family in support of the Summer Wells Reward Fund. Hopefully they will find her soon and get some closure to that case. The Daniel Robinson case, however, for me and Miss Q Carlock, we're just getting started. So I wanted to share with you some additional information. And obviously the press conference, news conference that the Robinson family had done in the month of November is posted on Mr. Robinson's YouTube channel. And if one of the moderators can drop the link to David Robinson's YouTube channel, that's certainly appreciated. All of the search efforts and commentary under that banner, under his channel, on his channel, he will be posting any and all updates there. I will be following those updates as we get them, and also have direct contact with Mr. Robinson by phone, email, and other means. So with that said, I want to throw up my copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. This act gives allowance and is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I took the liberty this afternoon, as I had mentioned in the last two previous lives with Mr. Robinson and Jeff McGrath, his special independent investigator, I took the liberty of going one step further. I'm going to share that with you right now. This afternoon, I went one step further and contacted Midwest EquiSearch. I made a phone call to both Dave Rader and Tim Miller. Also, to back it up, I was able to email them directly. And here is what my email consisted of. To Mr. Dave Rader and Mr. Tim Miller of the Midwest EquiSearch team. My name is John Q, and I have a YouTube channel. Ms. Q Carlock and myself are currently working with Mr. Robinson and his family to try to help their missing son, 24-year-old Daniel Robinson, out in Buckeye, Arizona, who went missing in June 23rd of 2021. The family is still searching today. We would like for Mr. Dave Rader or Mr. Tim Miller to contact Mr. Robinson regarding a possible search team to assist the family in their quest to find young Daniel Robinson. Please contact Mr. Robinson by phone or by email as soon as possible to discuss the details and this urgent quest to find their son, Daniel. The Robinson family truly needs your help. We thank you in advance regarding this matter, and we look forward to hearing back from you. Sincerely, John Q. And carbon copied, Miss Q Carlock. So I will wait until Monday to see if anything comes back to me by email. Also pursuing other calls on my desk, but I wanted to put EquiSearch on top of the desk as priority one until I get in contact with them directly or they get in contact with Mr. Robinson. I will pursue any and all means necessary to get them involved in this case to help the family find Daniel Robinson. I also took other steps, but I cannot discuss those steps with you until I get back confirmation. We are pursuing all avenues to pull people together and get a professional search effort out there to help Mr. Robinson. Okay. I wanted to share with you also our past live this Wednesday. We're actually 48 hours away from two lives we did back to back on Wednesday. Miss Q Carlock and myself got together with Mr. Jeff McGrath and Mr. David Robinson in regards to the case details and facts as they have unfolded to Mr. Robinson and Mr. McGrath. And we were able to take the liberty to cover geographical terrain map. I was able to design one and share that during the live. The first live we did, which was Cue the Truth. The second live we did, which was an open discussion with Mr. David Robinson. He came back a second time, and we really got into some good details and very good conversation. We were covering the dynamics of the geographical area and terrain in which Daniel's car was found. We covered tire tracks, other locations, 11 and within the 15 to 20 mile range. I'm drawing an independent map to cover a full 25-mile radius. Let me just go ahead and share maybe that item with you. Let's see if I can bring it up real quick. And here is my map. I'm pinpointing not only in and around the search areas, but I'm going to a far broader degree following their sector grid map that is on their website, which is this map here. The grid map consists of 7,072 grid sectors. Each sector pertains to anywhere between 1 to 2 miles in dimension. And as you can see, if I can zoom in close, we can get an idea of each sector being numbered, and also giving you an idea of the location in which Daniel's car was found as compared to where Daniel showed up for work. The pin area, the yellow pin area you see in this grid sector, is where Daniel showed up for work at 9 a.m. 15 minutes later, he left abruptly, strangely, according to the statement that was made by one of the workers that was out there in the field with him. Daniel left that area and headed south, only never to be seen again. His car ended up being found on July 19th by one of the local ranchers out there, a rancher whose statement is not in the police report. I'm covering that information as well as additional information, and I'll be in contact with Mr. Robinson regarding additional photos and any updates in the map. I want to welcome everyone who's just joining us. And this just gives you a little bit of the proximity of how far and how close the sectors are. Daniel's car was found 2.5 to 3 miles within that parameter away from the location that Daniel started in. His car was in very, very bad shape when they found it. There were clothes left outside 3 feet from the car. One of his shoes was underneath the front end of the car. His wallet, his keys, his equipment that he uses as a geologist was all left in the car. The car was badly damaged on the windshield, front right and left end of the car, as well as the sunroof being broken out. 2 airbags were deployed. Both the airbags were deployed with the Jeep laying on its right passenger side in a ravine. The damage to the car didn't match the terrain where the Jeep was found. The AMC report airbag control module analysis showed after the airbags were deployed, there were 46 ignition starts or ignition turns found on the analysis checked by Mr. McGrath. 46. The car went 11 miles further once the airbags were deployed. So now you have airbags that have been deployed, and you have a vehicle that went 11 miles further with those airbags deployed. Is that normal? Also, there were 11 additional miles on the Jeep since the airbags were deployed. The car was driven around after the crash. These are the findings of Special Investigator Jeff McGrath. I want to get to my other notes here. Thank you all for joining us. And so I wanted to know on June 26, when Daniel went missing, whether there was a police incident report based on any car collisions in that 24-hour period, and whether they were able to obtain that information or not. I wanted to know if there was an incident report. Daniel's Jeep was involved in a collision on Wednesday, on June 23rd at 1 p.m. 3 hours and 45 minutes after, 3 hours and 45 minutes before he left the job site. So now we begin a timeline. 9 a.m. he arrived at work, 9:15 he left the work site, and at 1 p.m. that afternoon he had a car collision. Almost 4 hours later. They are currently, and when I say they, Mr. Robinson and Mr. McGrath are currently looking into Daniel's phone, looking to do a forensic examination based on any data that can help them to find Daniel. They did a preliminary analysis only to find that there were a number of messages and text messages that were left on the phone at that time. But since it's an open investigation, we didn't dig into that in reference to finding out if there was any suspicious calls or messages at that time. Okay. So in looking at this grid map, I was able to begin building my map of the area. And okay. And we were able to begin to take a look at specific areas in this map. And as you can see, one of the main areas of concern was this particular area south of Daniel's work site. His car was located here, outside of this particular field. One of the wells not too far from this field were examined during the search, but nothing was found. And I'm still looking at this particular geographical area here because it tells me that this is a man-made structure, number one. And number two, people have to be involved in creating a structure like this. There's a power plant that's just north here. We covered information regarding this particular location. People working at this plant may have seen Daniel that day. I'm sure that they'll also be testing the red paint substance that was found at the right front end of Daniel's car. There's also a third area of concern, and that's this area here. Right off of Sun Valley Parkway. This area here is one of the closest areas to Sun Valley Parkway, also having two entry points. One is West Cactus Road, and the other is the main road that goes into the actual work site up here where Daniel was working that morning. We've covered at least a 2.5 to 3 mile distance between the work site and the automobile, the car that Daniel was driving. And then I started taking a look at other structures south of where Daniel's car was. And we did find structures here, structures here, structures here, and here. And as we kept going south, more structures. And these structures consist of people being in and around these structures. Someone had to see something. So in doing this and updating this map on a daily basis, and then making a joint comparison between my map and their grid sector map, we'll be able to close the distance in specific areas and hopefully be able to share some intelligent information with them based on their search efforts. Yes, Cheryl. Thank you. Thank you. I've already made contact both by phone call and email to Midwest EquiSearch. We're waiting a response back from them as we proceed to assist the Robinson family. Also, just wanted to also take a moment to share some of the photos that we were able to share on Wednesday's lives with you. Jeep Renegade that Daniel bought, 2017. Sun Valley Parkway, the route Daniel took to work. Buckeye, Arizona field and the terrain in which Daniel went to work, going out there, taking samples for the job until he went missing. It was a news release by the Buckeye Police Department. We were able to cover that information on Wednesday. And here is Daniel's car. This is the way Daniel's car was found. One of Daniel's shoes was directly underneath the front right end where the red paint was. As you can see, the windshields have been smashed on both sides, the driver and the passenger side. Had a sunroof here. I wanted to also ask Jeff whether there was glass inside or whether this had some kind of a different cover on it. So we could see the front wheel is turned outwards to the left, which means that the car, being on the terrain, tilted to the right and perhaps did a semi-rollover and laid to rest on its right side. Daniel's clothes were about 2.5 to 3 feet from the car. We talked to Mr. Robinson about that and additional findings in the area in which the car was found. Since the Buckeye Police Department were the first on the scene, we don't know if footprints coming to or leaving from this area was ever recorded or captured or reported by the Buckeye Police Department. No crime scene security was put in place. This wasn't treated as a crime scene. It was treated like an ordinary, everyday incident. But when you have clothes that's laid out here in the desert, along with Daniel's shoes and socks, you mean to tell me that that didn't pose any kind of suspicion as to where the owner of the vehicle was? In a 54-page police report, Ms. Q. Carlock and myself was able to read that report to a degree to share that information in our very first live that is posted on my channel. It was the very first time we began to look into this case. We were able to find some very interesting things. Daniel's jeans, the shoe in the background, his upper garment gear that he wears to work, taken at a different angle, about 3 feet from the car. This is Mr. Jeff McGrath, Special Independent Investigator working with Mr. Robinson in identifying the damage that was done to this vehicle. Did Daniel have a flat tire, lost control of the vehicle, and then ran off the road? Mr. McGrath would know that. Front end damage to the left, windshield damage we talked about. We compared this windshield to another Mercedes-Benz windshield. Mr. Randy Renegade Patriot found an interesting picture that we compared, and it looked identical. Both the driver's side airbag and passenger side airbag were deployed, and this vehicle went 11 additional miles. And you have to ask yourself, how could that be? How could that be? I thank God that Mr. Robinson has got a good man working with him, years of experience in police investigation, and this looks like foul play all over it. Working around the clock tirelessly, collecting his information, his evidence to prove to the Buckeye Police Department that there's something wrong here. But yet, as you heard him in the press conference, they didn't seem or appear to be interested in his information. Why? They've checked this vehicle from top to bottom since day one after receiving it from the crash site. Checking for everything that they could find. There was no blood. Fingerprints were not pulled from the vehicle. There was no thorough inspection that was ever made by the Buckeye Police Department when they found this vehicle. Why? More questions than answers. And Mr. Jeff McGrath is going to find these answers. As for Mr. Robinson, he's got a team of people working with him, working with the family right now, both boots on the ground and here on my channel, assisting him and his family in his quest to find Daniel Robinson, his son. They arrived at the location of the crash site. I'm sure they took their own independent pictures and began their search. In fact, search number 17 is tomorrow. Out here in the rugged terrain in Buckeye, Arizona, they'll be pulling people together. They're convening a meeting tonight in preparation for an early morning start. Sun up to sundown. Looking at every possible area they could find, if they could find Daniel. any trace evidence, any information as to Daniel's whereabouts. They got a lot of sectors to search. There are over 7,072 grid sector areas that they have to search. They've been able to at least complete some of the map, but they still need help. And this is the reason why I made a strong attempt to contact Midwest EquiSearch this afternoon. We need to find Daniel. We need to find him now, and we need to find him fast. Because if he is out there somewhere and he's hurt, or he even may be with someone who may be trying to take care of him after he may have been hurt, we need to find him. So I wanted to bring you this information tonight to let you know that we are focused on helping the Robinson family to find Daniel. I believe we can speed up the pace if we get the right people. Midwest EquiSearch involved. They have the technology, they have the equipment, they've got the people, the manpower, everything. And we can get them out there as quickly as possible. What I would just love to hear is that they've set up a meeting to get together with the Robinson family to discuss a possible search team effort out there in Buckeye, Arizona to help. And if we can just get there, wow, we'll win this with leaps and bounds. No doubt. No doubt. I will be perhaps doing a special live this Sunday as a follow-up to tonight's family press conference. As I get the information in, if I am contacted by Midwest EquiSearch before, great, then I'll have some information to share with you. But we're in pursuit to making a connection with them as soon as possible. And once we get there, then we'll know what our next step is. Wanted to see if I had anything else that I wanted to share. Let me just double check. Thank you all for coming. Oh, John Q's got much love up in here. Miss Q is busy getting ready for a special event on her channel. So if the moderators can drop a link to Miss Q's channel, because once I get finished up with this live, she's going live. And she's doing something very special for us. Let's see. Okay. I'll read some of your comments in the chat. Oh, yes, absolutely, Sandra. He's a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking guy. 24 years old, geologist. Incredible. Has anything been found out about those bones? Yes, there was a human skull that was found, but it was not Daniel's, thank God. And other bones that were found from the wildlife animals out there in the desert. So And it's kind of scary. They also found additional clothing out there, which also gives them suspicion that there's some kind of criminal activity going on out there in the desert. And this is the reason why both Mr. Robinson and Mr. McGrath want to have the FBI look into this case because of what they're finding. And they need to. They need to. As quickly as possible, they need to get in there and find out what the hell's going on. Why are people's clothes out there in the desert? And thank you, Randy, for posting Q Carlock's channel link in the chat. You're in the wrong profession, BB Diamond. What do you mean? And it looks like onlookers who are out there walking, rummaged through that car, possibly. Like I said, when you have physical structures out there, there's going to be people in and around those physical structures. Now, whether they be mining facilities, whether they be corrals or ranches, or what, you've got people in those areas. And those people could possibly have seen Daniel that day he went missing. I wanted to know if the Buckeye Police Department ever questioned any of those people in those sector areas that have those structures, that have those people there, whether they were questioned at all. We don't know. Yes, Gymnastics 101, I hope so too. I hope they get back to me. I will continue to pursue Midwest Equisearch until they do. Because this case, almost 6 months, the 23rd of this month will be 6 months. And I believe that if Midwest Equisearch was able to go out to Rogersville, Tennessee to look for a 5-year-old that went missing named Summer Wells, and they went out there twice, once for 13 days and then again for 3 days over a weekend period. They were able to cover a massive amount of miles and terrain when the foliage was heavy out there. Here is an entirely different geographical terrain. There's no trees. This is all wide open space, rugged terrain. So it's going to be a far different search activity here in Buckeye, Arizona than it was in Rogersville, Tennessee. Yes, I'm Leanne, I agree. I certainly agree. As far as all human remains, that seems like a known disposal spot. Could be. It could be. And that's why they want to have the proper authorities to take a real good hard look at what the hell's going on out there, Miss Queen. Absolutely. And they need to. Yes, additional clothing was found out there. And then you have to ask yourself, why? When people go missing and nobody's found? Could somebody be using that as a giant cemetery or something? We don't know. But that's why the search efforts to this day are commencing every weekend concerning the Robinson family, that is. Yes, I hope so too. He needs to come home, be with his family. We're getting ready to go into the Christmas holidays, in a time when family is supposed to be together. And yet we have to deal with missing person stories like this that get in and around the holiday area. And it's like, wow. Yeah, that's a very good one, Miss Kitty. Huh, look at what this father's been doing compared to Summer's father. Yeah, there are many possibilities here, Miss Queen. I mean, and that's why they're out there consistently before the weather really turns differently out there in Arizona. Not like the weather here in New York. We get cold, but Arizona is slow to getting cold. It was 90 degrees that day when Daniel went missing. Possibly. From what we know, if someone has been out there making people strip off their clothes and leave their keys and their wallet, their car, their equipment, you have to think about what could possibly be happening out there. Ah, yes, Randy. Just like Miss Queen said, could it be a disposal area? Could it be? Yes, Patty. I will be over there too. I will most certainly be over there too. So we're working on it, folks. We are working on it. Our first step was made today to try to get additional professional people on board. We'll find out more as we proceed. But I wanted to come back and share with you that November press conference. It touched me to know that Mr. Robinson and his team were out there a 16th time. Because I didn't see any police out there at all. Out of the photographs and out of the folks that were there, boots on the ground, why aren't they out there? Why is it going on 6 months? You think they really care? I will. Let me see if I can. Oh, Miss Q just went live. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this live because I did tell her I was going to be wrapped up by 8:30. Anyway, folks, I'll be back. I'll be back with more. And as we proceed, we're pursuing justice for Daniel. So with that said, much love to all of the moderators who held it down in blue tonight on John Q's channel. Thank you all for coming by and allowing me to share this information with you. Thank you for those who have made a contribution to support the channel. Much love to you. And until next time, you know what I say. Be well and stay blessed with Godspeed. Until next time, take care. We'll see you later.